Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ali AI. Start your free trial now.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Hi guys. It feels so surreal to be up here on the big stage because last year I was in Syndicate 3 and 4 and I was on at the same time that John Mueller was on here. And my greatest achievement to date is welcoming an audience of 10. I think that needs to be on my CV, to be honest. So I should probably introduce myself. My name's Jenna. I'm the content marketing lead at GWI. For those of you who haven't heard of us, we're a global consumer research company. We interview almost 1 million people every year around the world about what they think, feel, and do. And we house all of that in a platform that gives brands and agencies on-demand consumer research. We track 50 markets plus 50 states, and also track 15,000 brands and consumers' relationships to those brands. So let's dive in. I'm going to be talking to you today about a bit of a case study of when our blog traffic was in decline. So this is literally the opposite of any SEO team's success. It was quite stressful. But I'm going to take you through exactly how you can reverse it and how we diagnosed it and basically just what we did. So if you'll indulge me while I get slightly philosophical, I'm going to be talking about the art of letting go. So as humans, we hate letting go. It's not something that comes naturally to us. We don't want to let go of things that are, even no longer serving us. We hate it. And especially for content marketers, the idea of letting go of something that you've labored over for days, maybe even weeks, is enough to cause a bit of an existential crisis. So obviously I have to root my philosophical rant in search data because I'm at brightonSEO, and I was just really interested about the search traffic for letting go over time. If anyone can tell me what that 2011 rise was, I will buy you a coffee. Genius. Was that 2011? If it is, then you are getting a coffee, my friend. Then we looked at people also ask around letting go, and this really broke my heart because it's so sad. Will letting go bring her back? Will letting go heal my heartbreak? But the payoff is really rewarding. Why is letting go the most powerful thing ever? The power of letting go. So anyway, what's letting go actually got to do with any of this? Well, I want to paint a picture. So we had a really big spike during COVID for organic traffic, and I think a lot of the people in the room probably did as well. Everyone was at home, had way more time to read content, was, bored. And then in 2021, we had a 22% decline, and that decline continued into 2022. So we were slightly confused because we were doing everything right. We were publishing long form, original content. It featured a lot of multimedia elements, so it had videos, charts, loads of stuff that would kind of keep you engaged on the page. Page on time wasn't a problem, but our traffic was just in decline. So we took it to the lab, aka our SEO agency, and we were like, what's going on? So our initial diagnosis was that legacy content was aging. So legacy content was anything that we had written before 2019. It used to bring in a ton of traffic, and now it didn't. Next up, a lot of our content was simply out of date. It was almost too timely for its own good. It had a short shelf life and just didn't have any longevity. And finally, poor URLs were slipping down our site architecture. So we accidentally committed the cardinal sin of putting years in URLs and then later finding out that that's a really bad idea. So we had a lot to fix. So we first turned our attention to legacy content. So we were like, okay, great, this is a refresh job. Our old content used to be great, but now it's not so great anymore. So we basically needed to identify top refresh candidates, so blogs that had taken a nosedive in the past couple of years. So I headed to Google Analytics, filtered blog sessions by organic. You can also just do all traffic, but I was purely interested in SEO, and I didn't want my metrics to be skewed by social data or paid data. Set the date range to the heyday, so when things were really good, and basically exported that. And then we pulled consecutive years for when things were in decline. So we put all of that into a lovely Google Doc that was quite large. And then you basically just have a column for 2020 sessions, 2021 and 2022. And then I don't want to teach anyone to suck eggs, but you just do some basic Excel maths and drag the formula down to work out the difference in traffic over the years. You also want to sort the column by ascending order. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but you basically want the negatives to be on top. So you want your biggest differences to be at the top. So this was our final list of 10 refresh candidates. You'll see the drops in session. The top one lost 28,000 organic sessions over 2 years. The second one, 21,000 sessions, so on and so forth. And when we tallied them all up, we thought, okay, this is 85,000 organic sessions that we could potentially claw back, because that was the collective number of those top 10 refreshes that had experienced a decline. So we use a tool called Market Muse. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically quite a nifty AI tool. They have a feature called Optimize, which basically just lets you plug and play. It gives you a kind of overview of how your content is scoring. It gives you keyword suggestions, keyword density suggestions, and kind of gives you a mark basically of how likely this is going to rank. So we got busy refreshing these 10 blogs with our expert copywriters powered by fantastic AI tools. And then it obviously didn't work, because you can't reverse 2 years of decline in organic traffic by refreshing 10 blogs. So we had to go back to the drawing board. At the time, we were looking to grow, and we wanted to invest in tools, we wanted to invest in people, and just really build out our SEO function. So we put out a job spec for an SEO manager, and one of the things that the candidates had to do was come up with an SEO strategy to reverse the decline in traffic. And Caleb came into our lives. Everyone say hi, Caleb. Thank you. And he was fantastic, and he really made us laugh in our interview, because he was like, do you guys know that your site's really big? And we were like, yeah, like kind of impressive. And he was like, no, it's like really big. You got 3.2 thousand pages. And I know there are some of you in the room with sites that have millions of pages or tens of thousands of pages, but for what we do as a SaaS business and the size of our company, 3.2 thousand pages is a lot of pages to manage, especially considering the size of our team. The site was way too big for its boots. So we turned our attention to other ideas. We thought, okay, let's start thinking about redirecting our old thin content, fixing those horrible URL dates, and basically just trimming the fat off our site. So we began our mission. It was time to let go. It was time to do this site-wide spring clean. So here's what we did and how you can copy the exact same process. So you want to start by taking as much time to dig into the data as possible. This is going to be a journey of two halves. You've got your discovery that you've got to start with, which is basically a page identification process. And then you're going to move into the data enrichment side. So let's start with discovery. You want to start with a crawl. If you have Screaming Frog, fantastic. You can do this with just a manual crawl from the root, so www.example.com. Or you can do an XML sitemap, which is maybe a better way if you don't have like a decent internal linking structure. There are some requirements though for starting this with a crawl. You really need to make sure that your site's in decent SEO condition. Otherwise, kind of CMS data extract is probably your next best thing. So crawls on top. Then you want to layer some of that info with Google Analytics. So again, this is really good for identifying pages that didn't come up in your crawl, but do drive traffic. And then Google Search Console is a great place to go to next to find any orphan pages. And like I said, you could do a CMS data extract to basically just pull all the URLs from your HubSpot or WordPress database, but just be mindful that it will probably pull URLs that also have either recently been redirected or have been deleted a long time ago. So now you want to move on to enrichment. So you want to see what's broken, really. You want to do a bit of a HTTPS status check in Screaming Frog. Your 200 OKs is fine, page is live. 301s, 302s means it's a dodgy redirect. Other errors might be server errors, and then obviously your 404s is not found. You need to do something pretty quickly about those. Then you want to take stock of your peaks and troughs. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where you work out the difference between pages that are in decline and pages that are on the rise, because you might not want to redirect those old pages. You might just want to refresh them. They might be decent candidates. So you want to just be collecting all of this info. And then you want to see who's got your back. And what I mean by that is figure out, what is your backlink quality? What is your backlink landscape across the web? So you can do Ahrefs batch analysis, but if you want to get a bit more info on, individual backlink quality, then you do need to be a bit more manual and do individual URLs. But you want to be looking at link placement, anchor text, domain quality, whether those links are coming from spammy websites, because that's more, that's counterintuitive. A link isn't a great link all the time. And then you want to clear the fog on what's fresh. So you want to cull from your audit any pages that have recently gone live in the past 2 months, because really they haven't been out in the wild long enough. They're not ready to be audited. They need to grow up and, go out into the world before you could have a word with them. So just leave them be. And then you want to get a signal on your keyword performance. So you can do this through Google Search Console or AWR. And basically just figure out where your content gaps are and, just figure out what your low ranking pages are from a content and keyword perspective. Consider the scene set. So we started with getting rid of those horrible URLs that had dates in them. You can see some of the examples on screen. We've got luxury market 2019, gaming trends 2020, device usage 2019. It's all great content, but it immediately flags to Google that it is old news and no one really cares about it anymore. Next, we culled our old blog categories. So we used to run a daily blog series called Chart of the Day, where we would just publish a really interesting stat and accompany it with a chart and pad out the blog with like 300 words, if that. And we realized that as a series, but we first stopped producing it, but it also just wasn't bringing in any traffic, wasn't getting any backlinks. So we were like, okay, it's time to cull these. So we got rid of those, and then we also axed our dead weight traffic. So basically, low traffic, low backlink pages. And this is where stuff gets really serious, because when your phases start having phases, that it's like a really stressful, complicated, workflow to navigate. So the first phase of this was blogs that basically had no traffic in 2022 and no backlinks. So we redirected them to the blog homepage because that was the easiest thing to do. Phase 2 was no traffic in 2020 and 1 backlink. And again, they got redirected to the blog homepage. So there was about 224 pages that we did that for. Phase 3, the criteria for this was no traffic in 2022 and 1 backlink that was of decent quality. Again, that's where your Ahrefs individual analysis comes in. And the redirect target was sending people to more relevant, more evergreen content within the same topic. And then we redirected timely content that just wasn't timely anymore. So back when we had that spike with COVID in 2020, we were producing a lot of content around consumer sentiment around COVID and, how are people feeling? What is everyone's perception of lockdown? All of that sort of stuff. How are their shopping habits changing? And we were really meeting a need for data at the time. Businesses were really interested in that. But now people don't really care. And it's kind of old news. We've all moved on. So we found in our audit, there were 2 URLs that were actually really good candidates to keep. They were more evergreen. It was like COVID trends, how they've changed. And another one around trends that have stayed since COVID. So we kept those as our pillar pieces, and we redirected about 47 pages of COVID content to those new 2 pages, and we refreshed those new 2 pages as well. And then we removed blogs that had unfixable 404 link errors. So this is where your HTTPS status codes really show value. We basically were linking in about 80 blogs to an old version of our platform. And it would have taken way longer to go and fix all of those links and develop new charts and stuff. So we basically just redirected all of those pages because, again, it was outdated content, redirected them all to the blog homepage. And then we loosened our criteria and we got trigger happy, obviously. As you kind of start to get more comfortable with things, you can loosen up a little bit and, develop a plan that's just a bit more lax and, increase from 1 backlink to, okay, if it's got 3 backlinks and only 10 to 30 sessions, then we can cull it as well. So you just want to figure out what you're comfortable with letting go of, but still let go nonetheless. So we, in the end, redirected 1,065 pages throughout 2023, and this process is still ongoing. We're still identifying new redirect targets, and the results speak for themselves. So we had a 65% increase in organic blog sessions year on year, and a 45% increase in total organic website traffic. So really quickly, top tips before you begin. Take stock of where you are. You do really want to invest in that research phase. You really want to make sure that you're not just jumping straight into the deep end. You really want to go in and, do all that time and investing in the audit. And you want to map out your strategy and your potential criteria. Again, you don't need every strategy mapped out. Like, you don't need phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but you do want to have a couple of those phases under your belt so that you just have a plan in place and you know where you're heading. Go slow. It is a marathon, not a sprint. It is very dangerous to just redirect 1,000 pages overnight. You will probably give Google a run for its money. You don't want to be stressing out the algorithms. So do it slowly and do it safely. The most we would do is 100 in a day, and then we would wait 4 weeks to do another batch of 100. You really do want to space it out. Be mindful of other teams. I can't see the word mindful anymore without thinking demure. If you got that, you're spending too much time on TikTok like me. You want to be implementing redirects that don't affect other teams. So you really want to have that kind of cross-team communication happening, because what you might end up doing is redirecting a blog that your sales team have set up cadences with. They might be saying, okay, when this prospect comes in, I'd send them this blog post. If that blog post no longer exists or generates a 404 error, then that's not a good look. So you just want to be making sure that you're not getting any valuable pages just thrown in the trash. Look at sessions and backlinks. So sessions are a really good measure for how successful a page is, but I think backlinks don't get enough credit, because some of your pages might not be getting that many sessions, but have so much backlink quality from really good websites, like really high authority websites, and you want to try and maintain that level of value. And then you want to consider refreshes for those that have potential. So granted, refreshing 10 blogs isn't going to reverse the dial of 2 years, but there is a place for refreshes, and they're really important, and they can be time consuming. But when you're doing this audit, you can just be earmarking, okay, when we have time, when we have capacity, let's go forth and refresh these pages. And if you have that in your back pocket, you're probably more likely to do it because you know exactly what you're going to start with. And finally, learn to let go. I know it's really scary, but if you take that leap of faith, it really does pay off. Thank you so much.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.